It's a little late at night, so I'm gonna not be able to talk so loud because there are people that are sleeping as I go ahead and um, record this. We were discussing a pasuk. The pasuk said, "Ve'vesa es hamincha asher yasa me'ela v'Hashem ve'grivu el hakayin ve'gisha el hamizbeach." This Vayikra Beis pasuk ches. Vayikra Beis pasuk ches. And we've been dashing the pasuk following. Ve'vesa, according to Rabbi Shimon, Ve'vesa told me that minchas omer needs hagasha. Needs hagasha. According to Rabbi Yehuda, I learned that from a binyan av, that a minchas omer needs hagasha. According to Rabbi Shimon, the word vehekriva taught me minchas saita. According to Rabbi Yehuda, I learned that from a vesa. As we saw, they don't argue that the minchas saita requires hagasha. They just argue on the source for it, right? Whether it's vesa or whether it's what it is the so we're going to continue to attach in the plastic, and we're going to question maybe the words vesa teach me something else. So we're up to the first white line, on Samech on the base. Ayena oima vesa el sheyachid misnadev umevi minches acheres. Maybe a yachid is not limited to the five, the soilus, the machas, macheshes, and the yamayah beisavar. Chutz me'ela shebinyan. Maybe they can bring another one. V'dinhu, that they should be able to bring another type of carbon. They're discussing the possibility of bringing a carbon not from chitin, but from what? From siren. Not from chitin, but from siren. That's what we're suggesting. V'dinhu, you should be able to bring a minchas yachid from from siren. Tzibra maybe mincha menachitin. The tzibra brings from chitin. Of course, they bring the shtei lechem, or all the other chayvus, all the other menachos, or maybe mincha menasayim chayva. That's the mitzvah. Af yachid shemayvi mincha menachitin, that he brings his nedava from chitin. Should yavi mincha menasayim, the dava should be able to bring siren and dava. So why limit it to the five? Amad loima eila, these and only these. Therefore, it's miyad. So vevesa from eila. Ainli ela eila. Maybe I'm questioning what Eila is coming to teach me. Maybe it's coming to teach me mincha shemevi chamisha. The person says it's upon me to bring a mincha. Since the parsha of mincha says five types of kabbanis, maybe that's only those five types of kabbanis and nothing more. Only can be those five. It says may Eila. May Eila is a miyad, right? Ratza achas maybe, if he wants to bring one of them, may Eila from one of the five. Chamisha, maybe if he wants Eila, he can bring all of them. So may Eila one of them, or Eila all of them. Shimon oime es hamincha, Rabbi Menachos. So Shimon said on the Yom Aleph that the es we needed a limit from the pasuk es hamincha to include the minchas chaytel in hagasha, right? Because we couldn't learn that from a mehatzad. We couldn't learn that from mehatzad. We have to learn about from a pasuk. So it comes to Sham Menachos, not only minchas chayta, but other menachos, the mincha of a woman, the mincha of a nachri, af shtei lechem skip, af shtei lechem v'lechem apanim. I might think that even though shtei lechem apanim require hagasha, hamalayma may eileh. It says may eileh from these, and so it says vehivesa es hamincha asher yeyase me'ela Hashem ve'kriva el hakayin ve'kish al mizbeach. So from these, but not what? That's not the lechem apanim and not the shtei lechem. That does not. So the question is, we included the minchas chayta, we included the shar other ones, and we excluded lechem apanim and shtei lechem. Now the Gemara is going to do. Why did you opt to go in that direction? You could have gone in the other direction. This is what the Gemara does all the time. Says the Gemara, follow. Uma royas l'Rabbi Sham Menachos. Again, that's the minchas chayta, women. V'lahoitzi shtei lechem v'lechem apanim. So ma'amini Sham Menachos sheyesh mehen leishim. You have the kaimitz that goes leishim. U'motzini shtei lechem v'lechem apanim shein mehen leishim. Neither the lechem apanim, even though the lechem apanim the bezichin, but from the goof of itself of the lechem apanim, it doesn't go to what? It doesn't go to the fire, and certainly the shtei lechem doesn't go to the fire. The kipsi atzeres, maybe the emurim do, but not from the animal, not from the breads itself. right? Says the Gemara, okay, if that's your qualifier, then I have a problem. Like minchas nesachim, kulu leishim, minchas nesachim, the mincha that accompanies the kabbanis of the tzibur, called minchas nesachim, they all get burnt. Yachal, therefore, if your criteria is that you need something, kaimitz goes burns, and that's why it needs agasha. So therefore, minchas nesachim that's totally burnt certainly should need agasha. Yachal itun agasha, tamid laima bikriva. Bikriva it. You should go ahead and bring these five. But that's again the pasuk is speaking about a marcheshes. It's speaking about a marcheshes, but who are then we're going to include everything else, like from Zois Tarsa Mincha. But Minchas Tisachim not Vekriva. Fred Gemara Vafikte. We use Vekriva to teach us Minchas Saita. According to Rav Shimon, we use Vekriva to teach me Minchas Saita. So how to have an extra to teach me not Minchas Tisachim Le'inyan Hagasha? Says Gemara, it could have said Vehikriv, and it says Vekriva. So therefore, I'm learning two things. I'm learning one Minchas Saita, in addition Vekriva, these five, and not Minchas Tisachim. So just like we asked by the Shtei Lechem, why they excluded the Shtei Lechem upon him and included the Shar Menachos Minchas Chayta v'Chayina, that's just the same thing. Why did you see the Apt V'Hagasha by the Minchas Chayta v'Shar Menachos rather than what than the Minchas Nesachim? Amid Aleph, Marbani Shar Menachos. I'll include all the menachos, meaning the chatas and the isha and the guy. Shabois Bagal Atzman. They come as a result of themselves independently. They're not contingent upon a carbon of the tzibur, the minchas tamid. Minchas tesachim shein above the galatzma. It comes as a ancillary to another carbon and not to what by itself. For the Gemara, if that's your criteria, minchas kahanim or minchas kohen mashiach, boys beglal atzman, right? They both come by themselves. They both come by themselves. Right, but Minchas Kohanim, Minchas Mashiach, Bois Bagal Atzman, Yachoi Tunis Hagasha. Now you might ask, the Mishnah said they do need Hagasha, but the end of the Mishnah says, Rav Shimon says, since they don't need Kemitza, they don't need Hagasha. And who is the Moira of this price? Is Rav Shimon. So it's going to do all Rav Shimon's fellas, and that's why they don't need Hagasha. Because why? Because they don't need Kemitza. So now, I would think that they also, since they go to Ishim, I might think what since they come by themselves, I might think they need Hagasha, Hamalayma Ve'Gisha. Again, that we dashed in that pasuk, Ve'Gisha Ela Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, how do you have that extra to go ahead and exclude, according to Rav Shimon, to go ahead and exclude Minchas Kohen and Minchas Kahanim and Minchas Chavitin? I vehem by leil gufe shetun hagasha, right? So that says the Gemara, you needed to teach me that there's such a thing as hagasha. How can you say it's there to go ahead and exclude kohen mashiach, minchas chavitin, and the kohen kahanim? Says Gemara, it says min behigish vegisha. It could have said behigish. It says vegisha. So just like it said begriva, and then it could have said vehikriv. We learn two things. So then over here, we're learning two things. We're learning one. We're learning behigish to teach me that is a din of hagasha. And Satan's v'higisha that there's no din of hagasha by the minchas of a kain gadol, the minchas chavitin, and the mincha of a kain. For the Gemara, Marwayis Rabbi Menachos l'chaytzi minchas kahana minchas kain mashiach. Barbani Menachos sheyesh ben leishim u'bov l'atzman. They have two components, right? The Menachos. A, there's always a kainitz. B, they come as a result of themselves. And three, v'yesh ben l'kahanim. The Kahanim get a piece of the action, they get the Shirayim. I exclude them, it's nothing Vishim. This is Chazara. Minchas Tisachim Shein Baba Galatzma. Minchas Kahanim, Minchas Kohen Mashiach Shein Behem LeKahanim. They don't get any piece of the action. Very Gishmak. The Mishnah concludes, it says, the Gemara concludes, it says the Pasuk Veherim. It says Veherim Mimenu Bekumsoy Misoylus Amincha Umishamna. So there's two parshas. There's in Parshas Tzav and there's Parshas in Vayikra. It says, "V'her mimenu bikum soy, ma harama ha'omalahan bikum soy, afarama ha'omakan bikum soy." So I think I skipped a little bit. V'her yachal b'kli. Going back over again. He lifts up the kaimitz. I might think b'kli. So that means that there will be a kli. Each kayin had a kaimitz like this size, you'd put it in a kli. In other words, once they pre-measured it, maybe they wouldn't do this anymore. Let's say it holds X amount, two zaysim, like we spoke the other day. So they have a pot that holds two zaysim, they take it. They hear it and they pick it up. So how do you know that but it has to be become soy? How do you know it has to be become soy? It says, "Hamalayma v'her mimena become soy." The pasuk says, another pasuk that it says V'herem Mimena B'Kumsoy in Vayikra Vav and Sav. So Maharam Ha'amam Lahalam B'Kumsoy. That's excuse me. I said before it was in Vayikra. It means with Sav. Afaram Makan B'Kumsoy. So the Haram that it says in Pashas Vayikra is B'Kumsoy. So Yotzim Mitvarenu is we have a whole list of so far of menachos that require hagasha, In addition, there are some that require hagasha and tenufa. There are some that only require tenufa, and some that don't require either one, or hagasha or tenufa. So we've been discussing the ones that require hagasha, right? We excluded according to everybody. Right? We included Minchasaita, including everybody. We included the carbon Eimer. We excluded, right? We excluded according. We excluded according to. So we excluded according to everybody lechem aponim and the shtei lechem and minchas nesachim. And according to Shimon, he added to the list was minchas of kavitim, the minchas of kahanim, because they didn't have a kamitza. Now, Elu Tunis says the Mishnah, Elu Tunis Tenufa, Ve'ein Tunis Hagasha. These are the karbonis that tune, they need Tenufa and they don't need Hagasha. So they need Tenufa and they don't need Hagasha. Loik Shemen Shal Mitzayra. Now we know that Mitzayra brings a carbon Asham, and a complicated Asham is the one where you're going to put the blood on his thumbs and on his toe and on his ear. In addition, he brings a Loik Shemen. He's going to bring a like shemen. That like shemen is you go ahead with the ashman, you wave it. It needs tenufa. Like shemen shaman shamay. So it does need hagasha, but it does need tenufa. The habikurim k'divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and according to the great Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, bikurim also requires tenufa. The imuri shalmei yachid, the imurim of the shalmei yachid because of a shaykh shalahen. We're going to see that from there's parts of the Shlama that went to Hashem, and that part, including the Chaz of a Shaykh that went to the Kohen, required Tenufa. And we'll see at the end of the Gemara exactly the protocol, how that was done. Echad Anoshim, Sai men need Tenufa. The Echad Noshim, Sai women need Tenufa. Then be Yisrael v'loi b'acherim, only by Yisrael and not by others, which doesn't make any sense. So we'll see what the Gemara says. Shtei lechem, shtei kivsei atzeres. Now, the shtei lechem kivsei atzeres. So these, but they need tenufa. You're going to go ahead and you're going to wave them. You're going to wave them, and they don't need hagasha, right? So this is an example of the ones that need tenufa, not hagasha. Kate said oisa. Shtei lechem al gabe shtei kvasim. You would take the shtei lechem, put them on top of the two sheep. Umeniach shtei yadav lemata. He would go ahead and put his two hands underneath it. Moiluchu maybe mailu moirit. So we go this way and this way and this way. So you had the lechem, the shtei lechem on top of the kvasim. The kvasim were on his hands, and on top of that was the shtei lechem. That's the lechem was always on the top. Shneimar says Asher Hunaf, Asher Huram. So it says Asher Hunaf, he waves Asher Huram. So you see that it goes back and forth and up and down. Tenufa Hoysa b'Mizrach. Tenufa was done b'Mizrach. Now look at Rashi. Rashi says something interesting. Rashi says Afilu b'Mizrach. That Tenufa was done, Klaimer, Afilu b'Mizrach Shal Mizbeach Yachal Lehein. If you could do Tenufa, right, you can do Tenufa in the east. The Kolsh came to Maravai, and certainly in the west. And so in the west, the Kar of Yoisel Leichel, because it has to be Lefnei Hashem. So guys, picture, it's pretty easy, right? We had the discussion many times. Okay. Mizbeach, Mizbeach was totally in the north, if the Mizbeach was totally in the north, and here's the Heichal. So when you're coming out, you get the west side and you get the east side. Get the west side and the east side. Says Rashi, Tanufa is done over here in the east, and because it's Lifnei Hashem, and certainly it can be done in the west. That's what Rashi says. That's what Rashi says. So if you look at Rabbeinu Gershon, says Rabbeinu Gershon, and mamish the bottom line, it says, let's hold off on this. Let's hold on. It's I think it's a machlokes in Rashi and Rabbeinu Gershon. That Rabbeinu Gershon says only the east and not the west, only the east and not the west, because okay, we'll see. Okay, let's see it. Let's go. Let's see. Say Rabbeinu Gershon. It says v'oid b'makom sherishoyin bailam lavai ulehenif dahainu b'mizrach. The we know that the Baal was not allowed to be Bein Ulam and Mizbeach. So he can be on the east side, but he can't be on the west side. Because again, he's going to have to do Tanufa together with the Kayin. How could he be over here? According to Rashi, he could be. According to Rabbi Gershom, no, he can only be over here. Why? Because he's not allowed over there. So therefore, Mizrachi, that's why we have the Mizrach. Okay, we'll see the Gemara discusses it. So Tanufa Hoysa b'Mizrach, the Hagasha b'Mayriv, and Hagasha was done on the southwest side. Again, if the home is in the north, on the southwest side, that's where it was done. Tanufa Kodim Hagasha, when you had a korban that needed both Tanufa and Hagasha. If you look at Rashi, Tanufa Kodim Hagasha, Tchilas Meina Fiachach Mekisha, and there's only two korbanos, Uba Minchas Aimer, or Minchas Knois. We're speaking about the mincha of the Aimer and the mincha of the Saita, Sheyesh ben Tanufa veHagasha. So they need they both. That's the only two korbanos that have both the korban of the Aimer and the Saita. Uminayin shet Tanufa koidim. How do you know Tanufa comes before before Hagasha? Ichsib b'mincha Saita v'hine v'sa mincha lefnei Hashem v'hada v'hikri v'yisa el mizbeach. So you see by the site that why it says the first you do Tanufa, and then the Hikrib, and then you Magish. Then you do Hagasha. Minchas Leimer, Minchas Kanois Tunas Hagasha, as it's just stated. Utanufa lechem hapanim, utanufa lechem hapanim, utanufa lechem hapanim. Okay, let me read it again correctly. Okay, it says Minchas Oimer and Minchas Kanois Tu'unam Hagasha U'Tenufa. They need both Hagasha and Tenufa. Lechem Aponim U'Minchas Nesachim. The Lechem Aponim and the Minchas Nesachim Ein Tu'una Loy Hagasha V'Loy Tenufa. Now we already learned that the Lechem Aponim does not need Hagasha, right? But the Shtei Lechem does need Hagasha, but the Shnei Lechem needs Tenufa. Right? The Shtei Lechem that was born Shuas needs Tenufa, with this Kifliat Seres, as we saw in the beginning of the Mishnah. But the Minchas Nesachim does not need tuna, does not need Hagasha, it needs the Lechem Aponim. Reb Shimon Oimer, Gimel Mini Tunim, Gimel Mitzvahs. There are three descriptions of Karbanis we're going to describe, three possible mitzvahs, and in all scenarios they can only accomplish two. You can only accomplish two. Right? What does that mean? Okay, the three are Sivchei Shamei Yachid, Sivchei Shamei Tzibor, V'Yashem Etzaira. Sivchei Shamei Yachid Tunim Smicha Chayim Utenufa Shchutim. The Shlomim of a Yachid, it needs smicha when it is alive, and waving of its emurim and the chazav shaykh after it's dead. Ve'en dehen Tenufa Chayim, but it doesn't have Tenufa Chayim. So you have smicha, Tenufa Chayim, and Tenufa Shchuta. So it needs smicha and shchuta, but it doesn't need chayim. Zivchei Shami Tzibor Tu'unim Tenufa Chayim Shchutim. They need tenufa both before and afterwards. Rashi makes psukim. They mean smicha. So there's the three possibilities of chayim, shchutim, and smicha. Only two, shchutim and tenufa shchutim and chayim, but not smicha. The Ashem Etzaira tayin smicha utenufa. And the Ashem Etzaira, it requires smicha utenufa, chay. However, the aim by tenufa shachet. So you have smicha, so you have smicha and tenufa when it's alive, but not when it is geshachted. Tanrabanan, the hikar vaisala Hashem. So we're done with discussing the tunas tenufa, and they don't need hagasha. And we're speaking about what? We're speaking about the loik shemen of the that accompanied the asha. Tanrabanan, the hikar vaisala Hashem, the sloig hashemen, the hinef vaisan. So the pasuk says the hikriv. You're going to go ahead and v'lokach hakoines hakeves ha'echad v'hikriv oisoi la'asham v'sloi hashemen v'heinef oisam tenufa l'fnei Hashem. So it says v'hikriv oisa. It's mashma that what that you're bringing that close. V'hikriv oisa la'asham v'sloi hashemen v'heinef oisam tenufa. Then it's v'heinef oisa tenufa. Malamed shentuna tenufa ki'echad. They need to do it together. V'heinef oisam. Now it says v'heinef oisam. Then it says the word tenufa. So it's like a double lashon, fellas. On one hand, you're saying v'heinef oisam together, and then you're saying tenufa. So what exactly does it mean? V'heinef oisam. Don't say the word tenufa. Just say v'heinef oisam of Hashem. Why do you add the word tenufa? So when it said oisam malamed, that means malamed v'heinef oisam tenufa malamed shetunim tenufa ke'echad. You have to do the like shemen with the asham. How do you know you do one and not the other? You do one after the other. How do you know you're yaitza? Tamalema v'hikr v'yisrael asham v'heinif. And it doesn't say Isam, it says Behenif, it's a singular Lashon. So you could do what? You could Lichatchila, you should do both together. B'di'evet, if you do each one separately, it works. Now the Gemara is going to ask, Hay l'chayra can kaim both. First, let me do two together, and then let me do it separately. Fred the Gemara, Yachol Yonev v'yachse v'yonev. First do both, and then do the one separately, and then you become v'heinif and v'heinif oisam, v'heinif oisam tenufa. Hamalayim tenufa v'lay tenufais. It's tenufa and not tenufais. So it's only one. It's only one. So we darshan the parsha, the fact that it says the lashon of Yochid, that mashma one, that Masha, you do one, and the Hain of some, it's mashma that you can do, you can do one after the other, but you have to do them together. What? The chatchila together. If you do one after the other. On the other hand, you can't go ahead and do it multiple times because it says tenufa. The pasuk says l'fnei Hashem. What does l'fnei Hashem mean? It means b'mizrach. It means that what? That you're going to do tenufa in the mizrach. So you see, but Ma'ariv, it's what like the west is Ma'ariv side is not Lefnei Hashem is Ma'ariv not. So Amri Hanimili Mincha Dikri Chatas. What needs Hagasha? The Chatas needs Hagasha. A Chatas has to be, since it's called a Chatas, you need a Yisoid. The Karen Troimus Mizrachis the Hoyola Yisoid. I don't have a picture, but you might remember that the north side and the west side had a Yisoid. So therefore, right, therefore you're going to have to put it in a place where what? If you put it over here, you'll have your sight. If you put it over here, you won't have your sight. You put it over here, you won't have your sight. It says the Gemara. The reason why you need the west, the reason why you need northwest is because you need southwest. You need your sight because on the western side there was your sight. Therefore, you can't do it on the eastern side because there was no your sight. There was no your sight. So therefore, by the Mincha it says, but Ma'ariv, Mashen came by Tenufa, right? By Tenufa, you don't need your sight, and therefore it can be in the east. And so that's Machloikas. Rashi says Tenufa could even be in the what? Can even be in the west. Says Rabbi Rabbeinu Gershom, no. The reason why Hagasha needs the west is because why? Is because it's called the Chatas. And since it's called the Chatas, and it's in the west, because that's where the Kohen only the Kohen can go over there in the southwest. Mashen came the eastern side, the southeastern side, southwestern side, southeastern side Over there's no Yisoid, and all you need is Tenufa. And if the Mizbeach is lined up in the north, it's Lefnei Hashem. So it's not all the way, right? It's like, let's say it's going this way. It's not all the way west, but it's over here, but it's lined up. It's aligned with the Heichel. The Karen Joimus Misrachas Lechoy Yisaid. In the north and Joimus Misrachas, the southeast, there was no Yisaid. Therefore, you had to go to southwest. Abel Hachel Lefnei Hashem, but regarding Hagasha, regarding Tanuf, it says Lefnei Hashem Karinam Bey. If you're in the east, it's called Bat Lefnei Hashem. Bikurim, we said Bikurim, Kedivri Eliezer ben Yaakov, that requires Tanufa. That requires Tanufa. My Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, what's the din of Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov? What's the din of Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov? The Tanya. Pasuk says, "V'lokach hakohen hatena miyadecha." The kohen will take the tena, he'll take the basket from your hands, v'yinichai, and he'll put it down. L'fnei mizbeach Hashem lokech in front of the mizbeach. So the word v'yinichai is important. V'lokach. V'lokach hakohen hatena miyadecha. The word miyadecha. Limed al bikurim shetuna tenufa. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. My time, mother Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Gama yod mishlamim. He's going to learn yad mishlamim. Kseb chacha v'lokach hakohen hatena miyadecha. Kseb chasam, it says by the shlamim yodoiv tivienu es ishe Hashem es achelev ala chaza yivienu. So it says yodav and tivienu. It's speaking about the tenufa of the imurim and the chaza b'shoik. And just like over there, it says yad and speaking about the tenufa. Who are them? And it says v'inichai. It says v'lokach hakohen miyadecha. It's speaking that you need tenufa, and that's according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that you need tenufa. Now, the Gemara continues. Now, it says by bikurim that the kohen will take from your hands, and it says yadav tivienu. It's speaking about the bailam. It's speaking about the bailam. So Shlomim gives us the bailam yisoid, and bikurim gives us the yisoid wad of kohen. So it says the Gemara. Makan by bikurim kohen afla halam by the chaz of the shoik, even though it doesn't say it, it's the kohen. Uma lahalam by the chaz of the shoik, bailim is there, yadav. Afkan bailim, so too bailim. So in other words, by both bikurim and the chaz of the shoik, you can need both the bailim involved. Okay, sad. Kohen miniach yadai tachas yadei bailim. The kohen will go ahead and put the hands underneath the hands of the baal. Umenif. Now, again, the lashon, he puts the hands underneath the hands of the baal, is menif. Okay, we'll get back to that, exactly what the positioning was, right? V'leima nami k'divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Why don't you suggest that's also that Rabbi Yehuda also says that bikurim requires tenufa, and therefore you could have said not k'divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov also, or k'divrei Rabbi Yehuda you could have said. It says when the time Rabbi Yehuda Omer, okay, it says the pasuk says the ata hine hevesa when he's speaking out in Pashas Kisavai, right? At the hine hevesi es reishis pri adama Hashem nasatali Hashem v'nachtai lefnei Hashem. Now, why does it have to say v'nachtai? It already said before. The lokach hakoyin hatem v'yedecha v'yinichai. It says before. It says Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda, the Tana Rabbi Yehuda, v'yinachtai zu tenufa. Atam zu tenufa ein el hanacha. Keshuvoyim v'yinichai. Right? Hari hanacha amar. We already know he put it down. Hamani mekayim v'yinachtai zu tenufa. That refers not to not putting it down, but tenufa. So that's Rabbi Yehuda. So why are you limiting and saying that only according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov does bikurim require tenufa? Even Rabbi Yehuda says bikurim requires tenufa. So I read the Gemara. So Amar Rava says Rava Hayul pasuk va'akasav tchila. Since the Rabbi Yehuda's pasuk came before the pasuk Rabbi Yehuda, he had Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov's pasukim came before the pasukim of Rabbi Yehuda. Since it came before, therefore what we're going to list it in his name. His comes first. So therefore you list it. It's a funny teretz. Another teretz says the Gemara Nachma Yitzchak Amar Choyl Rav Gavraya. Says Rashi Rav Gavraya Shu Chacham B'Yoser. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is Chacham B'Yoser. The Kaim Alon Mishnah said Rabbi Eliezer B'Yaakov Kav V'Naki. He spoke out that Kav is Kamashi 102. There's 102 places. So he doesn't speak out a lot, but wherever he speaks out, it's Naki. And therefore, that's why we mentioned, because the loch is like Yaakov might be Kurim, because it was Eliezer ben Yaakov. The imur shama yachid, the imur shama yachid because of the shaykh shalahen. Echad, okay, and then we said echad ha nashim, the echad nashim, the Yisrael, avalei b'acherim. My Omar, says Rashi, my Omar. Reisha Katani Echad Nashim V'Echad Nashim. Whether it's men, whether it's women, require tenufa. V'Hada Katani Avaloi Ba'acherim the Mashma Anashim B'Lei Nashim. Loi Ba'acherim is Mashma only men and not women. So what is it? So Omar Rav Yehuda Hachi Kamar. Echad Nashim V'Echad Nashim Korban Tayin Tenufa. They both need tenufa. However, but tenufas atzma b'Yisrael. Tenufas atzmi Yisrael, avaloi biyad nashim. So in other words, the acherim, the korban chayav tenufa, but they can't do it. So who would do it? The kohen would do it alone. The kohen alone would go ahead and do tenufa. Now it's interesting to note that you're saying over here that women do not do tenufa. There are two exclusions. The Mishnah in Lamed Vav, Lamed Aleph in the Masechta Kedushin says, Smicha, it says. Hasmichos tenupois v'agashos v'hakmitzos v'aktaros v'amalikois v'akabolos v'azois v'heges b'anashim le'nashim. All these are knowing by men and not women. Chutz, there are two places. In Minchas Saita, right, on the Zira, Shahim Menifos. By the Saita, and by what? And the Minchas, by the Nazir, it requires it. So it lends the question. So it's mashma without Gezeres HaKosiv that, women would. Don't you have a gosh by the? I know they asked the shaila by the side there, but the problem with Nagia, how do you physically do it? Because if the lashon was that how Kate said, how do you do it for 2 lines from the top? It's mashma, the Baal is holding on to it, and the kohen has his hand like this, and they're waving. So if the woman has a hand like this, and you doing that's again it's not it's get the Nagia. So I think the teretz is the following. I have to go ahead and share. So we read you the Gemara in Kedushin. Here's the Tosfos. This is what Tosfos says. Machnes kohen yadai tachas yada bailim umenif. So therefore, the kohen is not pashup shat. The kohen is not touching the kli. It's not in contact with the kli. Bim taimar. V'habi chatzitza, the hands of the Baal, the should be a chatzitza. The achinam yamin Menachos ain't tenufa b'chubarin pirish b'shutafim. How can they go ahead? There's no tenufa by partners. The heichli of it, the nafu v'hadal naf. The one to do the tenufa first, and then the other one to repeat and do tenufa. Kloimar tashifin ze achazeh yenifu chad tenufa amar achmana. V'lo shtei tenufos, like we just said, right? One and not two. In Cain, Habi Chatzitza. If he's going to put it, in other words, the Gemara says he's going to put the shutter is going to put his hand here, the other shutter is going to put it in his hand here, and the Gemara says that's a Chatzitza. So if that's a Chatzitza, but the Kohen is also a Chatzitza. In Cain, Habi Chatzitza. Alma, you see, the B'chiyah Gavna Habi Chatzitza. V'yesh Leimar. Loi dami. The hacha hainu time will have a chatzitza b'chiyah gavna. If you shehu gezeres the kosiv, the being kayin u'bailim. Aval hasam gabi shnei shutfin choshev kiyah gavna chatzitza. So if it's gezeres the kosiv, it's not a chatzitza. If it's not, it is. In mechamihen niach yodei tachas yad chavero. If you shein gezeres the kosiv, sheyu shneim made him oy yesh lema. This is the teretz I want. Oy yesh lema. The hachinami loy mayri shehakoyim meniach es yodei tachas yad bailim. It's not speaking when he went like this, fellas. He didn't put his hand underneath the hands of the Baal. It wasn't in contact with his hands at all. The B'chiyah Gavna Havi Chatzitza. Elavet son of Loimar. What does the pasuk mean to say? The Gemara. Sha'oichis hakli lamata. The kohen would hold the kli from the bottom. V'habaylim oichsin limayla. So when it says that the kohen put his hand below, it means below the level of the Baal, but the Baal is holding it above. But they're not in contact with each other. Hashtaleka chatzitza klal, and there's not here a chatzitza at all. That is no chatzitza at all. So I was thinking that would be a very, very nice pshat, right? According to that, by the Minchas Kenois, where you would go ahead and eat it, and by the Nazira, where you'd have to go ahead and do tenufa. So the kohen would be holding his hand on the bottom, and the woman would be holding over here. You have no problem with that of the gear. Perhaps that's a mahalach. I probably think it is I must have seen it somewhere. Okay. Says the Gemara. Rabbanan. Bnei Yisrael menifin. Bnei Yisrael, they do tenufa. The ain't oivik kichovim menifin, but a guy doesn't. Bnei Yisrael menifin. They ain't a nosha menifais, but women don't. And they can't go ahead and send them as a shliach to do it. So the kohen does it alone. We find that a guy can't do smicha, a woman can't do smicha, right? So we know there's a difference between a Jew, a regular man who could do smicha. Yochalam, I think, nechalik b'tenufa, so we make the same chalik b'tenufa, that there's no tenufa at all. So it says, Maloi, Mali chalak b'smicha shasmicha b'bailim, right? The smicha has to be b'bailim, and therefore you can't send the shliach. Rashi says it has to be b'bailim. A male guy can't do it, and no can a woman do it. But nechlek b'tenufa, should we go ahead and make the same chilik by tenufa to say it shouldn't apply at all? Shat tenufa b'kahanim, that tenufa can be done b'shlichus by the kahanim. Okay, so in other words, they do it. Fred came at Tamaloim b'nei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael menifin, beina b'kichavim menifan, Bnei Yisrael menifin, beina nashim menifais. Tanya Yidach, the Baisa. Bnei Yisrael, ein li'ela Bnei Yisrael, Geirim va'avodim v'shachrarim minayin. How do you know Geirim va'avodim were freed? How do you know they what? They do tenufa. Hamad lema, hamakrib. Pasuk says hamakrib, the one who brings the carbon. Oyena elazeh kayin hamakrib. Maybe it's only the kayin does tenufa. He's the one who's makrib. Kishu oyme yodov tiviyena. When it says by the Shlomim that Yodov, his hands to Vienna, Hari Bailam Oimer. So obviously the Bailam is there, and therefore we can't exclude the Kayin. Okay, Tzad. How Ketzad? Ketzad. So the Gemara is asking, how Ketzad Yiskayim HaMakriv Dahainu Kayin V'Yodav Tviyenu Dan Bailam. In other words, so you have two psukim that are conflicting. On one hand, HaMakriv is Mashman the Kayin. On the other hand, Yodov Tviyenu is Mashman the Baal. So how do you go ahead and fill both psukim? Haketzad koyim iniach yodav tachas yidei abaylim umeinim, as we just said before. Ketzad oisa. Now, what about we spoke about the shami yotid that you brought the chazid, you brought the imurim that goes to Hashem with the chazid v'shaik. Now, what goes on top? What's in conjunction with the Baal's hands and what's not? So the Gemara is going to discuss that. Ketzad oisa. How do you go ahead and do tenufa by the emurim? So meniach emurim, you take the chelev and of the lalagon mizbeach, al pisas hayad, you put it in the palm of the Baal's hands, the chazav v'shaik aleihem, and on top of that you put the chazav v'shaik. Ubechol makam sheyesh lehem halechem. In any case, there would be a lechem. The Gemara is going to say that's only one time in history. Then it'll be lamaila. So picture this: you'd have chelev, you'd have the chelev neimurim, you'd have the chaz v'shaik, and then you'd have what? You'd have the lechem. You'd have the lechem on top of that. Says the Gemara, Heicha, when did that occur? That you had lechem above. I'm going to papa b'miluyim. It happened by the miluyim of Inyanim Yama, Nisan, when the Mizbeach, when the Mishkan was consecrated. My timer. What's the reason that they put the chazav v'shaik on the emurim, right? Why'd you put the emurim on top of the chazav v'shaik? It says the shaik of the truma and the chaziyat trufa. That's the chazav v'shaik, right? That's the al ishe hachalavim yaviyu lehenif trufa. So based upon the pasuk, you put that chazav v'shaik on top of the what? The chalavim. So you see. On one hand, Vaksiv, there's another pasuk. It says, "Es hachelev ala chazeh yivienu." The chelev on the chazeh you should bring. So tit for tat. You bring one pasuk that says the chelev is underneath. Here, I bring a pasuk that says the chelev is on top. Rabbi, that's not a problem. That's not a problem when it says that what when the chelev was on top. Hahu the ma'isile hakayim beis hamikbachayim v'ramile. He would bring it from the beis hamikbachayim, and then you put it in the hands of the next kayim. So to bring Mekayim Tenufa, what do you need? You need the chelev here and the chazav shaik here. We have it the other way. That's when they bought it from the butcher shop where they skinned it from the right. They bought it over. Then he would go ahead and put it in the hands of the other kohen like that, right? Then he inverted it, right? That makes sense. Instead of sliding it, he went like this. So it went from chaylev here to chaylev there. That's how you go ahead and fit the two psukim together. The pasuk says, and they placed the chalovim on the chazais. So now again, what are you going to say? You have a third pasuk. So it's more who the yovle, right? The koyin achrina vazl machtale. That's geschmack as anything. Like this. You had v'hakam ashmalon, and you had what? You had three kahanim, dimina shleish kahanim, yishun nechsiv, b'roivam hadrus melech. We know there's a din of doing things with the much publicity as possible. Just like learning the Megillah. There's a big union of learning the Megillah with a lot of people. So we have three psukim. One pasuk says that what? That the chaz v'shaykh was on top. Another one says that the chayla was on top. Another one says the chayla was on top. How do we go in and do all three? Very geschmack. First, the kohen, one kohen would bring it from the basement bakayim. He'd have the chaz v'shaykh underneath and the chayla on top. He would then go to the kohen who would do tenufa and turn it over in his hands. And now you had the chaz v'shaykh on top and the chayla on the bottom. After he did the tenufa, he gave it to a third kohen to be makdir. And he turned it over like this. Now you had the chayla back on top and the chaz v'shaykh on the bottom. And then he went and he burnt it. Okay, B'ez Hashem, we'll see you after Mitzvah Shabbos. And thank everyone for listening. And again, I'm sorry that I couldn't do it live, but that's sorry. All the best. Good Shabbos.